The Parashat begins with the words Vayi Miketz Shenatayim Yamim, and it was at the end of 2 years. What 2 years? Yosef was in the bor, was in jail, in the pit for 10 years. So what is the 2 years? So the rabbis explained that 2 more years he had to sit in jail. He was supposed to sit for only 10 years. However, in the end he sat for a total of 12 years. What were the additional 2 years for? Why does he deserve to stay an additional 2 years? So the rabbis tell us, because towards the end of Parashat Vayeshev, when Yosef interpreted the dreams of the Sar HaMashkim and the Sar HaOfim, who were in jail together with him, the Sar HaMashkim, he told that he was going to go to freedom. He was going to be released. He was going to get back his old position. Sar HaOfim was hanged. The baker was hanged. So the Sar HaMashkim is on his way back to freedom. Yosef tells him the last moment, by the way, I did you a favor. Remember me too. Do a favor back to me. Whenever you have a chance, the next time you see the boss, Paro, tell him to get me out of here. I didn't do anything wrong here to be here. And because he had bitachon, he put his faith, he relied on a human being, on Sar HaMashkim, and not on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he was punished for an additional 2 years. But the question is, what's wrong with what he did? Every one of us would have done the same thing. On the contrary, it's the right thing to do, to make an effort in every direction possible, to try, to bribe, to ask favors. Why not? That's called hishtadlut. We don't know who's going to help us. Even though we have bitachon b'Hashem, but Hashem has messengers. We go to doctors for their help. What was wrong with Yosef asking a favor? There was nothing wrong. Nothing wrong whatsoever. Yosef actually had a lot of bitachon in Hashem. There was only a problem with some extra words that he should not have said. And what are the extra words? He tells the Sar HaMashkim that get me out of here, remember me when you're able to. Ki gunov gunavti me'eretz ha'ivrim, I was kidnapped from Israel. V'gam po lo asiti me'uma, I didn't do anything wrong over here to deserve this, to be in jail. Yosef, you're complaining that you didn't do anything wrong to deserve this? For that you go to jail 2 more years. There was nothing wrong with asking a favor. Asking a favor, that is a normal effort, normal attempt. You're allowed to try whatever you can. But to start complaining, I don't deserve to be in jail. What did I do wrong to be in jail? What do you mean? If you're there, that means you must have done something. You need to pay for it. Right? Yisurim is a kapara. Pain and suffering is some sort of kapara for some avon. How could you complain? I didn't do anything wrong here. I didn't do anything to deserve this. You complain, you get an additional 2 years. The word Miketz also symbolizes the end. The end of what? The end of a very important period. The end of days. The end of days, when Mashiach comes, will be Ketz Hayamin. It's the final Ketz, the final end of all the Galuyot. Just like this is the beginning of the end for the problems of Yaakov. Right? He suffered all his life. This is the end, the real end of the problems of Yosef. Because after all that he suffered, he finally goes out and gets to power, to a very high position. So Miketz, this is a very important stage. This is a point where Yosef's tzarot are finished. Yaakov is about to finish his tzarot. Even though Am Yisrael is about to go down to the Galut Mitzrayim, but in dealing with the tzarot, with the problems of Yaakov and Yosef, this is the end. Now things are going to improve. The last years of Yaakov are the best years of his life, in a sense. And Yosef is about to become a very important individual in Egypt. So in the same way that this ket happened so quickly, Yosef was called, they rushed him out of jail. They changed his clothes, they shaved him, they gave him a haircut. In the same way that this happened hurriedly, he didn't stay 1 extra day, 1 extra hour that he had to. As soon as the time came for him to leave, they rushed him out of the pit, the Pasuk says. So the Chafetz Chaim says exactly the same thing will happen when Mashiach comes. We will not be delayed 1 extra hour. As soon as it happens, we will be rushed out of here. And there will be no delay. However, there is a problem with that. Even though it's true that as soon as Mashiach arrives, there won't be any additional delays, the process of Mashiach, the Ta'alich of the Geulah, of the redemption, is happening in stages. It's not happening very quickly. Why? It's supposed to happen quickly. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that there are 2 ways Mashiach can come. One be'ita and one be'achishena. Be'achishena means hurriedly, quickly. Be'ita means in its time. If Am Yisrael does not have enough merits, it will come at the last possible moment, at the very end. If Am Yisrael has many merits, it will come hurriedly, quickly, without too much pain and suffering. Unfortunately, we're not able to deserve to be redeemed by Achishena. That is why it has taken so long, and we're almost close to the year 6000, which means that it's happening Be'ita. Be'ita means almost at the last possible moment, where it could have happened had we deserved it hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago. But it did not. And because it's happening Be'ita, it's also happening slowly. Like the Prophet says, Ki'ani sherochev al-chamor, like a poor man riding a donkey. Why is it described like a poor man riding a donkey? A donkey goes slow. That's one of the explanations. So it's happening in stages, but it's still happening. But there's another idea. There's another idea of why we are seeing the stages and we're not seeing the quick redemption. The Chazon Ish, the great rabbi who passed away in the early 50s, was once asked about the state of Israel in 1948. The Jewish people have now their own state. They're back in their land. Does that mean that we are seeing the beginning of the Geulah? And he says, no, this is not considered the beginning of the Geulah, but you can consider this the end of the Galut. There's a big difference. The beginning of the Geulah would be very significant. We would be seeing positive developments. Today, even though we see positive developments, they're not necessarily very spiritual. The infrastructure in Israel is being developed, the streets, the homes, but spirituality, the government does not believe in God, unfortunately. So he called the state of Israel, where Am Yisrael is able to come back home, the end of the Galut. That, yes, it's the beginning of the end of the Galut, but not the beginning of the redemption. When Mashiach comes, we will see the beginning of the... So what we're witnessing today is not the Geulah yet. It's the end of the Galut, which is also very good. Baruch Hashem. 100 years ago, they weren't able to say that so easily. So Baruch Hashem, at least we're seeing the end of the Galut. However, if we're seeing the end of the Galut, then why are we seeing so much pain and suffering? In Israel, the suicide bombings, several wars with the Arabs, the Holocaust right before that. If this is the end of the Galut, then why so much pain and suffering? How does this go together with redemption, with Geulah? When people ask me, aren't you worried about the situation in Israel? I said, no, I'm not worried. I'm very calm, actually. How could you be calm? I said as follows. If there would be no problems in Israel today, I would be worried. The fact that there are problems, I'm not worried. How could that be? For the following reason. The Hatam Sofer, who lived in the early 1800s, the Jewish people suffered from problems of having equal rights. They were treated like second-class citizens in Europe. So one time, the Hatam Sofer was told that the emperor decided to give the Jews freedom, more freedom, equal rights. They wanted to see his reaction. Will he be happy? And he began to cry. He says, Rabbi, why are you crying? You should be happy. We're getting equal rights. He says, Mashal lema davar domeh. You know what this reminds me? The following mashal. There was once a minister very close to the king who committed a crime against the king. And because he was so close to the king did not kill him, but he threw him in jail. He didn't tell him how long he was going to be in jail. After several months in jail, he hears noise. The prisoner, the minister, he hears noise. What's the noise? He hopes that they're coming to release him, to open up the jail. He hears heavy equipment. He doesn't know what this is for, but he's hopeful that they're coming to take him out. As soon as they arrive, the people with the heavy equipment, he asks him, what's this? He says, we were sent here to make you a window. The king very much still likes you, but you committed a big crime against him. You have to sit in jail, but he wants your time in jail to be as comfortable as possible. So he's going to make another window for you. So he began to cry. So they asked him, you should be happy, you should be grateful that the king is considerate. He's making your life comfortable. He says, yeah, what comfort is this? I wish I could be free. Not here. When you were coming closer and I heard all the noise and commotion, I thought that you were coming to get me out. Now that you come and bring equipment to make me a window, what this tells me is that I'm probably going to be here for a long time. That's why he's thinking to make my life comfortable. So the Hatam Sofer says, as long as we suffered under the Goyim, we always had hope that Mashiach is around the corner. Because that is exactly what's supposed to happen according to the Nevi'im. Difficult times right before Mashiach comes. But if all of a sudden we see that we're getting equal rights and life is comfortable in the Galut, the Siman, this is an indication that we still have, unfortunately, many years to go. That is why I'm worried. When it's not good, that is a good siman. That is what we should be expecting. Not that we want it, but that is what we should be expecting. If things are not right, I'm, in a way, at ease. I'm at peace. I'm calm. I realize that that's the way things are, that's the way things should be, and that we're getting closer to Mashiach. The question is still, why did we have to suffer before Mashiach? What's all this pain for? What's the reason behind it? Rabbi Elyahu Kin, Hashem Yinkom Damo, he was killed in the Holocaust, great rabbi, once explained, you know why the Jewish people in Europe suffer so much from the blood libels? They used to accuse us of using Christian blood to make matzot. And this was the most craziest idea. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. The Torah is against drinking human blood, or even animal blood, I should say. Human blood is not clearly stated in the Torah, but it's obviously something disgusting, and the Torah is against it. And nevertheless, we suffered so much. They killed a lot of Jews because of that false accusation. So Rabbi Elyahu Kin says, how did they ever think up of this crazy idea? He says, it has to do with the Ketonet Pasim of Yosef, with the vest of Yosef that the brothers removed from him, and they dipped it in a goat's blood. They needed to convince their father, Yaakov, that Yosef was killed by an animal. Right? So they took his vest, they slaughtered the goat, they dipped the vest in blood, and that is why Yaakov said, Tarof Torah Yosef, my child, my boy was killed by a wild animal. So Rabbi Elyahu Kin, Hashem Yinkom Damo, says, that sin of the brothers of Yosef, selling their brother, dipping his shirt, his vest in blood, is still a problem for future generations. It was never completely exonerated, never completely forgiven. They dipped the Ketonet in blood, they will eventually be accused of blood, of Christian blood. And the Rambam says something similar. He says the whole Avodah of Yom Kippurim, the service of Yom Kippurim, involved a goat. Remember? The Se'ir of Yom Kippurim, it involves also goat. Why a goat more than any other animal? Also to be mechaper, we still have a job to atone for the sin of the brothers of Yosef. This atonement goes on for many generations. Why does it go on for many generations? Get it over with. Kapara, gamarnu, finished. No, but the rabbis tell us, Kol dor she'en Bet HaMikdash nibna b'yamav kilu echrivo. Any generation, if the Bet HaMikdash is not built in that generation, it is as though that generation destroyed the Bet HaMikdash. In other words, because it's not rebuilt now, it means that we have the same avon that the generation that destroyed it had. Otherwise it would be rebuilt. So if it's not rebuilt now, we still have the same avon as then. So similar idea. If we are suffering from the avon of Yosef and his brothers, it's because we have the same avon. The same sin. What was the sin? Sinat Chinam, Lashon Hara. Right? The basis hatred, the machloket. Because we have the same problem that they did, we are suffering from the same avon that they did. That is why in this last galut, this galut is called Galut Edom, the galut of Esav, the Roman Empire. Esav was very cruel to us, more than the Arabs. We suffered more under the Catholic Church than under Islam. Esav is so cruel to us, was very, very brutal and cruel to us. Why? Because we were brutal and cruel to our own brothers. Because the Sinat Chinam continued to be a problem in every generation, that is why Hashem sent Esav to be cruel and to show his anger and his hatred towards us, because we showed it to our own brothers. That is why something very interesting happens when Yaakov is told by his boys when they come home from Egypt, this man in Egypt is giving us a hard time. He's being so cruel to us. He is accusing us of being spies. Yaakov says, really? That's strange. That doesn't make any sense to me. I have an idea, Yaakov says. You know what? Let's try two things. Let's send him Mizimrat Haaretz. I'm going to send with you next time a gift with the best fruit of the land. Because if he's upset at you because he's just very upset, nervous man, grouchy man, this hopefully will calm him down. In other words, if his hatred towards you is al pi derech hateva, if it's natural, then we can calm him down through a gift. If, however, this is unacceptable to him, if it makes no difference in him, siman, this is a siman min hashamayim, that his hatred towards you is min hashamayim. That something you did is wrong. Otherwise, why is he behaving to you like that? That is why Yaakov adds, in case this gift does not work, V'kel shakai ten lachem rachamim. Hashem should give mercy to you. In other words, if the gift does not help, you need a prayer. However, Yaakov says that prayer in a very, very unique way. He says, V'kel shakai iten lachem rachamim. Wait a minute. Hashem should give you mercy, He should give the man mercy on you. Why does Yaakov say God should give you the mercy? Because Yaakov is telling them, listen, if somebody is being cruel to you, it is very possible that you were cruel to somebody else in your life. Once upon a time you were cruel to someone, and now somebody is being cruel to you. Hashem should give you mercy. In other words, you should receive mercy to show mercy on others. And kol ha-merachem al habriot, merachamim alav min hashamayim. Whoever has pity on human beings, min hashamayim, they will have pity on him too. Midah keneged midah. So Yaakov smells a rat, as we say in English. He says, something is strange here. He's being cruel to you. Maybe you were cruel to someone, and they were cruel to their own brother. And that is why he is being cruel to them. We know that Yosef has a plan, and I'm going to talk about that soon. Why Yosef does what he does. He has a master plan. Nevertheless, Yaakov is saying correctly, if somebody is cruel to you, it's not for anything. Could be, it's possible that the man has some problem. He's suspicious. Okay, give him the gift. If it doesn't work, then it's min hashamayim. He's upset at you because min hashamayim, they're sending you a signal that you must have been cruel to someone. Be therefore pitiful, compassionate on others. So min hashamayim, they will be compassionate and pitiful on you. This compassion is something that we always needed to have. In order to be able to repair the sinat chinam, the baseless hatred, which we are suffering because of that in this galut, this is our tikkun. In reality, this is what is expected of us, to show kindness, consideration, compassion for our brothers. Especially in our time, special attention needs to be given to our brothers who have been kidnapped and sold into slavery. Which slavery? The slavery of the street, the slavery of Hellenism, the slavery of secularism. Judaism was deprived from them. They grew up in public schools. They were thrown into kibbutzim in Israel. It's not their fault. And it's not their parents' fault either. On them we have to have even more pity and bring them back. Bring them to a class, give them a tape, and be very patient with them. This is the ultimate love that we can show to our brothers, that we want to save their spiritual life, their neshama, not only their physical life. So if we're considerate, it shows ahavat chinam. We have nothing to do with them. They're not our brothers, physically our brothers, from the same family, but they're from the Jewish people. If we go out of the way and we make attempts to influence them or to bring them closer in any way possible, that is a tremendous act of rahmanut and ahava. And that is what will bring about the tikkun of the sinat chinam. This is what Hashem wants to see. That is why I always talk about the need to avoid as much possible lawsuits with another Jew. How do you avoid the lawsuit? Sometimes it's unavoidable. First of all, the first step to avoid the lawsuit is to avoid any misunderstandings. If you have a contract with someone, make sure everything is in writing, as clear as possible. Because we don't know, everybody has a yetzer hara. If nothing is written down, no matter how much you trusted the person, he may go crazy. When it comes to money, people do weird things. You don't want to take any chances, so make things as clear as possible. If we're dealing with partnerships, if we're dealing with contracts, contractors, employees, you don't want to ever get into a fight, so you want to learn how to avoid the fights. Clarify things as much as possible. Sometimes it's impossible to avoid every confrontation, and you may have to go to a din Torah. You may have to eventually go to court. Even in those situations, the first attempt should be to settle out of court, to make psharot, to make compromises. And compromise means giving in. And I'll tell you why that's important. Even though you are right, it's important sometimes to give in. To make shalom is an incredible, important mitzvah, not only between people who are not family, but especially between husband and wives. The fact that there are so many divorces that they tell you that there's some terrible problem going on. And that's also sin'ah. When people get divorced, it's because they don't like each other. That's no good. Tremendous effort needs to go into making peace between brothers. There are a lot of brothers. Brothers, they're from the same father and mother who can't get along. And you know what? It's usually because of money. Nonsense. Because of nonsense, not because of real issues. If we can do anything about it, tremendous mitzvah. Now, why should a person compromise if he's right? Let's say he's right. Let him go to a din Torah. Rabbis tell us, why was the Bet HaMikdash destroyed? Al Shedanu din Torah. The judges judged according to the Torah. But that's great. No, that's no good. Because to judge according to the Torah, what does that mean? Reuven and Shimon come to court, The rabbis look up the halakha if they don't know it by heart, and they say this is the halakha. Reuven is right, Shimon is wrong. That's the halakha. What's wrong with that? When Reuven and Shimon leave the courthouse, leave the bedin, they still hate each other. No peace was made between them. So what if you said Reuven is right and Shimon is wrong? They still hate each other. They're not going to shake hands. Shimon is upset. And Reuven is happy, but Shimon is upset. He won't look at him. He won't look at Reuven. Rabbi tells us the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed because the sin'ah, the hatred remained. Nothing was done to remove hatred. They come to court, try to make peace between them. So what if Reuven is right? See if you can somehow convince Reuven, depending on the circumstances, depending on the situation. You don't have to tell him, give up your $1 million claim if he owes him that much money. Obviously, give him more time, maybe reduce it, be considerate, maybe the situation has changed for Shimon, he can't come up with the money so quickly. You have to try to work to make peace. And if we do what's called lifnim meshurat hadin, lifnim meshurat hadin means if we do not follow strictly the din, if we don't insist on our way, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will also not insist on the din. Hashem can say, this is the din, you deserve this punishment. You did this avon. But he sees that Am Yisrael osim lifnim meshurat hadin. They treat each other with kindness. They don't insist on their way. They're willing to bend. They're willing to bend. They don't always insist on being right. They're willing to compromise. Hashem says, okay, I will compromise too. There was once a rabbi, I always like to tell this story. Reuven and Shimon came to him, and he had the bedin in his house. He hears Reuven first. After he finishes hearing Reuven, he tells Reuven, you know what? You're right. Now let me hear Shimon. He hears Shimon's story. Shimon, you know, you are also very right. The wife of the rabbi didn't understand. My husband, how could they both be right? You're also right. Everybody is right. In other words, try to make everybody feel good. It doesn't cost any extra. The rabbis tell us, En kli mahzik baracha ela hashalom. The greatest keli, vessel that can hold beracha, all the blessing that Hashem wants to give us, is shalom. Why? Shalom is so important. It can hold, more than any other keli, it can hold all the blessings. Because what happens when a person wins a battle? He also lost. Even if one wins, he lost. He had to go to battle. He had to go to war. He got injured. His name was spoiled. You don't come out of any war completely clean. The best, therefore, keli to hold all the berachot, to hold everybody intact, together, in peace, is shalom. Then there's peace when there is no war. If you can avoid it at all costs, that's what you should do. So now let's go back to Yosef. Why is Yosef punished and thrown into a bore? So I may have mentioned last week that the punishment of Yosef was 1 year for every brother he spoke Lashon Hara against. It was Lashon Hara, slander. We know that nothing happens for no reason, and that is why he was thrown to jail. But why jail? We have to think a little bit about this. Why was his punishment jail? Yehuda, unfortunately, lost 2 boys. Right? There were others who suffered in other ways. Why be thrown into a jail for 10 years? It's very boring there. It's not like the jails of today where they give you a TV, you have exercise room. He was in a pit, in a dungeon, he was in the ground. It wasn't very comfortable. Even though Yosef was in charge of the other prisoners, who wants the job? So what kind of a punishment is a jail? Anybody want to suggest anything? Any ideas? When you're in jail, you have a lot of time to think. A lot of time to contemplate, to reflect, to think. And a lot of Israelis in the jails in Israel have become Balei Teshuvah. Bakele, Bevet HaSohar in Israel. They have a lot of time on their hands. They're not doing anything. A lot of time to think. Leharher b'teshuvah. So many Israelis in the jails have done teshuvah because they were in jail. Now what happens in the Israeli jails? Not only do they have time to think, they have opportunities to attend a shiur. Some rabbis come to the jails and teach Torah. And besides that, in a jail you are deprived of all your ta'avot. The majority of the desires, the ta'avot that you had, that led you to trouble, your hands are shackled. You're tied. You don't have the ability to just do any avon you want anymore. You don't have the possibility to fulfill your ta'avot in jail. So a jail is a very good place, leharher b'teshuvah. You have all the time to think a little bit about what you did wrong. Yosef had a lot of time on his hand, and he did think about what he did. And he eventually realized, as we will see next week in Parashat Vayigash, he realized why all of this happened. Why it happened to him, why it happened to his brothers. So eventually, the jail serves a purpose. But what happens during all these years, there's a lot of yisurim. There's a lot of pain. One is taken away from his family. This pain, the rabbis tell us, we must continuously remember. Any pain that one goes through, yisurim and markim avonot, they actually cleanse us from our sins. We must remember that, because if we experience pain and we accept it mitoch ahava, with love and understanding to Hashem, gam zu letovah, then the yisurim are mechaper. The pain and suffering will actually atone for the sin. If we say, why do I deserve this? This doesn't make any sense to me, then the yisurim will not help that much. If one accepts yisurim be'ahava, they can be very effective in cleansing him from the sins. So we need to remember that even though there is a heshbon, there is a reason for every yisurim, what they all have in common is that they come to be mechaper, to act as a kapara for the sins. There was once a rabbi in the time of the Gemara who was going down the street and he saw a blind man. And he said, Shalom ben chorim. Shalom, free man. Why? Because he's blind and suffering in this world, he is free from punishment in the afterlife. You have received your pain and tzarot in this world. Shalom ben chorim. Ben chorim is a free man. You're free. In other words, you've received a great deal of pain and suffering in this world. You are ben chorim, you are free. It's actually brought down in the Gemara that the Torah teaches us how a slave can go free from his master if he lost his tooth or if he lost an eye. If one goes free as a result of losing an eye or a tooth, the more so if his entire body suffers pain, that it will release him from his debts, from his chovot that he has accumulated because of his sins. Yisurim are very powerful cleansing agents to clean us up here. The Chafetz Chaim used to say, when we come upstairs and we see all the sins that we did, we will be scared. And we will also be amazed at how much we accumulated. And we will be concerned about our din, our cheshbon upstairs, what's going to happen to us now. All of a sudden we will see another agala, another carriage, carrying all the pain and suffering that we suffered in this world. And because of that agala, that carriage of pain and suffering, a malach comes and removes half of the sins that we've accumulated on this agala. But there's still a little bit left. And we wait and we will wait and wait. Is there more agalot of pain and suffering? No more. At that point the neshama will say, I wished I suffered more in this world, so I shouldn't have anything left over from this agala. So when we do chas v'shalom, we do suffer here, we should be thankful that we're taking care of it here and not upstairs. Now let's talk about Yosef. I said before, Yosef has a master plan. Very strange. It doesn't make sense, and nobody can figure out what Yosef is trying to do. If you read it, the brothers don't know what's going on. Yaakov doesn't know what's going on. Or apparently only Yosef knows. But we don't even know. We can't read Yosef's mind. Because when Yosef accuses his brothers, when he wants to put him in jail, when he makes all sorts of demands of them, it can appear like he's taking revenge. But the Zohar says, Chaz v'shalom, Yosef HaTzadik should take revenge? No way. Yosef is not taking revenge from his brothers. So what is he doing to his brothers? He's playing a game with them? You're traitors. You're spies, he calls them. You're untruthful people. He says, Ma pitom. It's not so. Then he puts the gavia in the bag of Binyamin, he puts the cup. He plays around with them. What's going on here? We need to know that Yosef has a plan. Everything is with a plan. Yosef needs to find out two things. Besides finding out if his father is still alive, he needs to find out two things, which are very important to him. Number one, did his brothers do teshuvah? Do they repent? That's very important to him. Do they feel remorseful? Do they regret what they did? And number two, do they still hate him or not? Why is that so important to him? Because everybody asks a very famous question whenever we come to Parashat Miketz. Why didn't Yosef write his father a letter? His father was worried about him for 22 years. Yosef does not even write one letter. Okay, he was in jail for 12 years, but he was not in jail for a while. He was working in the house of Potiphar, right? He had some freedom. He could have written a letter. He did not send one postcard. The pyramids, picture. There's several explanations, but perhaps the simple explanation is as follows. Yosef did not want to take a chance to let know his father that he's still alive, because his brothers would come after him. How did you get to Egypt? You mean your brothers sold you? You see how it will all start? And Yosef knew, because of his dreams and because of where he saw himself headed, the developments, that sooner or later they're all going to come down. The rest of the dream will come true. So he did not want to start up any fights right now. He did not want to antagonize them. He did not want to risk his life, because his brothers almost killed him then. So Yosef needs to know, where are my brothers holding? If I tell them who I am, will they kill me? He has to know this. So he has to see how much are they willing to fight for Binyamin. As soon as he saw two things. He saw that, he heard them say, Aval Ashemim Anachnu. Originally, when he accused them of spies, they said, Kenim Anachnu, we're innocent. We're not spies. No, he says, you are. The Midrash says they came, the brothers split. They went into a different entrance to Egypt, had many entrances. Each one went from a different entrance. The reason they did that is because they took it upon themselves to look for Yosef. They said, okay, we're coming to Egypt, let's go look for him. But he said, no, why are you all coming different entrances? Come together. So we're innocent, they tell him. They're innocent means that they didn't yet understand that what they did to Yosef was completely wrong. Not 100%. In the end, when they finally see all this terrible suffering that they're going through, why do we deserve this? Why are we going through this? Only then, when he hears them, when he overhears them say, Aval Hashemim Anachnu, all of this is happening to us because we are guilty. We saw our brother plead for his life when we threw him into the pit, when we sold him into slavery. We saw he actually pleads. In the Torah it doesn't say that he pleads, but the Midrash says he pleaded for his life. That he begged. When we saw him plead for his life, we didn't have any pity for him. We were cruel to him. That is why we're getting all this suffering now from this Egyptian ruler. So as soon as he hears the words of Arashemim Anachnu, that we are guilty, as soon as he sees them fighting for Binyamin, as we will see next week, Vayigash Yehuda approaches Yosef, nowhere we're going to leave Binyamin behind. In other words, we made the mistake once, we're not doing it again. We care for our brother. Okay, now he calms down. He sees that they're fighting for his brother Binyamin, they've done teshuvah, and that is how he decides that the time has come to reveal himself. The same is true with the story of the Maccabim in Hanukkah. We're now in Hanukkah. What happens in Hanukkah is HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself. What is a miracle? A revelation of Hashem. Hashem reveals himself, performs an open miracle that the few are able to defeat the many. That's an incredible miracle. A true revelation of the Ashgacha of Hashem, and that is only because the Maccabim fought for the kavod of Hashem. As soon as HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that there was somebody out there who's willing to fight for my kavod, who's willing to do something about the Torah mitzvot, I'm ready to reveal myself. Hashem wants us Hashem wants us to take the first step, to make an effort to fight for the kavod shamayim. Then He will help us further. He will make miracles. He will reveal Himself. From the story of Yosef, even though the entire story, in all the stories in Bereshit, have to do with Am Yisrael, there's also, on a personal level, one can learn a lot from this. Every individual who may be in his own tzara, in his own personal problem, can learn something from the story of Yosef. Yosef is thrown into jail. Somebody gets a life sentence, 25 years in jail, for something which he did not really deserve to do. In other words, to sit for that 25 years. What should he think? That's it? He's going to rot in jail? No. We said now in Hallel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is able to raise us from dirt. Even those who are poor. Those who are in the garbage dump. Yarim Evyon, He's able to raise them. I'm sure some of you may know individuals who didn't even have one penny to their name. And today they're multimillionaires. Once upon a time they were on the ground, in the garbage, Bashpot. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu picked them up overnight. Never give up hope. Even if you're in jail, even if your situation is very bad, what does the Pasuk say? Yeshuat Hashem keheref ayin. The help from Hashem can come quickly. Keheref ayin, in the blink of an eye. And that is when the rabbis always remind us that even if you're under the guillotine, you know what a guillotine is? The knife that's about to come down and chop a person's head. Afilu heref chada munachat al tzavaro shel adam. Even if a heref chada, a sharp sword, a guillotine, is about to come down on the head. Alish tiyaesh adam min arachamim. Never give up hope for asking rachamim. Maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the last second will have rachamim on you. I may have told you a long time ago the story with my sister's father-in-law. My sister's father-in-law, who lives in New York, is a Holocaust survivor. He was in Auschwitz. they already put him in the gas chambers. You know what the gas chambers were? Gas chamber. Soon, the German Nazi was going to open a valve, and the gas was going to go in. In a few seconds, they were going to die. They took him to the gas chamber. They undressed them all, and in a few more seconds, they were going to die. But what happened? As soon as they were already in, there was a siren. They sounded the alarm in the camp. The Americans were approaching. And as soon as they heard that, the Nazis ran away. Because the Nazis ran away, these people, this group of Jews, were saved at the last second. The difference between life and death was a few seconds. They could have easily given up hope. That's it. I'm sure they said vidui. If they knew what, a lot of them did not know what these rooms were. They thought they were showers. They were going to clean them. But at the last moment, even if you're at the last moment, anything can happen. The brothers of Yosef, we said before, did not understand what happened, what was happening to them, what was going on. In the same way, Am Yisrael in the Galut will not understand all the events that are happening around us. We will be perplexed. What is the meaning of all of this? When Mashiach comes, it says, V'shuv Hashem et Zion hayinu kecholmim. When Hashem finally reveals himself, Mashiach arrives, we will be able to look back and it will all be like a big dream. That is how we will look back at all the suffering. Why? Because there will be so much good in the world then. Am Yisrael will benefit so much and will receive so much good that everything that we suffered in the past will be like a dream that's long forgotten. We will not even relate to it. We will relate to it just like a dream, something in the past, something small. We won't even think about it. Ayinu kecholmim, we will look at all of this galut as one big halom, as one big dream. Why a dream? What's the significance of a dream? It says Ayinu kecholmim, it will be like we were dreaming. Parashat Vayishlach, actually even before, Parashat Vayetze, and even before, all these parshiyot, like Vayeshev and Miketz, you see everybody's dreaming. Paro is dreaming, Yaakov dreamt, Yosef dreamt, Sarah Mashkim dreamed, everybody's dreaming. What's this halom? Why dreams? There's so much of an emphasis on a dream. What's a dream? We spoke a little bit about dreams, but the idea of everybody having a dream is as follows. Even they knew that some dreams are real. And when a dream is real, it's a nevuah ktana min hashamayim, it's a small prophecy min hashamayim. Hashem is communicating with us. All of this is one big dream. What does that mean? Remember, nothing happened here b'derech mikre, just by chance. It was the yad mechavenet mi Hashem. This was Hashem's hand guiding all of this. Just like the story of Esther and Mordechai. You could see that Hashem is guiding the whole thing to happen. It's not obvious right away, but it's all guided by Hashem. All of the tlaot, all of what Yosef went through with the brothers, the Jewish people went through in the Galut, all of this is like a dream. A dream is min Hashem, a dream is min Hashamayim. The same is with all this Galut, with all this diaspora. Everything that we experienced, everything we went through, nothing is by chance. It is min Hashamayim. Yad Hashem mechavenet. A dream is Hashem's communication with us. Every event, therefore, is also directed by Hashem. There's no nikrim over here. Nothing that happens by chance. Yosef, as an individual, symbolizes, represents Mashiach ben Yosef. We will have Mashiach ben Yosef, and we will have a Mashiach ben David. When we are looking forward to Mashiach, we usually mean Mashiach ben David, because he will reign, he will be the king, from Shevet Yehuda. Mashiach ben Yosef has a different role. One has a role to destroy Amalek, to destroy Esav. One will have a role to destroy Yishmael, to build the Bet HaMikdash, to gather everybody. That's Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben Yosef acts more like a general. He comes before Mashiach ben David. We don't fully understand how, when, and where he will appear. But we do know one thing. Mashiach ben Yosef comes from the Aseret HaShvatim. He comes from the 10 tribes. Today, amongst us, you are either from Shevet Levi, if you are a Kohen or a Levi. If you're not a Kohen or a Levi, you are from Shevet Yehuda, Binyamin, or from half of Menashe. The tribe of Menashe was split in two parts. One part on the one side of the Jordan, the other part in Israel proper. The one on the other side of the Jordan was exiled together with Reuven, Shimon, Issachar, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The other half that was in Israel proper went with Yehuda and Binyamin to Europe, and later on to the Arab lands, to Iran, and so forth. So there may be some other tribes mixed with us, according to Tosafot, that Yirmiyahu brought some back, But otherwise, you're either from Levi, Yehuda, Binyamin, or from half of Menashe. So where is everybody else? So I have an exciting, incredible lecture called The 10 Lost Tribes, with pictures of them. And B'ezrat Hashem will do it one of these days again. There's incredible amount of information about them, but we don't know exactly where they are. Even though I have an idea of where some of them are, we do know one thing. What does the Prophet promise? Uvahu ha'ovdim me'eretz Ashur v'nidachim me'eretz Mitzrayim. In the end, they will all come back. Mashiach ben Yosef will emerge from them. Before they come back to us, an individual from them will come and present himself as the leader of Am Yisrael. That is the Prophet's comforting words to Rachel. Rachel mevakal banea, the Prophet says. Rachel is crying for her kids as they're being led into the diaspora. And Hashem tells her, Rachel min'i kolech mi bechi. Hold back from tears. Don't cry. Ki yesh tikva le'haritech. There is hope in the end. What kind of hope? It is going to be your Yosef who's going to lead the 10 tribes who were taken out of Israel. He's going to lead them back. V'shavu banim legvulam b'ezrat Hashem. In the end, even though Am Yisrael was scattered all over the world, Navi promises, you will see that they all will return. As we're seeing it today, little by little, we're all coming back. There's over 5 million Jews in Eretz Yisrael. There's over 5 million Jews of Eretz Yisrael, and more are coming. And B'ezrat Hashem, we will be next.